So I'm going to show you my favorite way to light a still life scene. What I want you to learn from this is not so much to do it exactly the way I do it, although if that's what you want to do, that's just fine. But to find out how to tweak the light and to sculpt it just a little bit differently so that you are coming up with your own style of lighting. Now, again, there is nothing wrong with using the same light I use. There's lots of people who use this style of light, but really think about what works for you and what you're trying to create for your images. I definitely have a very old masters Dutch painting look to my images, which is what I'm going for with my lighting. Now you might want something more bright and airy and cheerful, and if that's what you want, then you do you. Bring in the lights, lighten it up, do what you would like. So generally I am just using one light, although today I'm going to show you also bringing in a backdrop light for a second light. I think that I might actually want to use the fill light today just because of all the different textures and layers that are in this arrangement. If I was shooting flowers that had less textures and petals and little tiny details in them, I would probably skip a fill light, but I feel like with all these different layers and nooks and crannies in here, I might want to go ahead and use a fill light. But I'm going to start off with just my key light on, and that is my Glow 28-inch foldable beauty dish with the grid. I might go ahead and switch that out. I actually love using my smaller 12-inch beauty dish for still life arrangements because it's very easy to hand hold and I can move it around. I'll probably end up switching, but I'm going to go ahead and see what this looks like. My settings are the normal for me, which is f11, 1/200th shutter speed, 100 ISO, and 1/16th flash power. I am focused on that center hellebore. So I actually think that light is really pretty. I love the way it's just skimming across these front layers and the rest is falling into darkness. Now, if I look at the image that I am using as my inspiration image, you'll notice that there is a little bit of light on the background on the opposite side of the light side. So the light is hitting from here, and then there's a little bit of light over here on this backdrop. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my second light, which is my background light. It is one of these reflectors. This is called a reflector, not to be confused with, the big foldable reflectors, but this is a reflector with a 20-degree grid on it. So I'm going to place it so that it's right behind the edge of the shadow side of my arrangement. It has a modeling lamp, which is super useful because I can see where the light is falling. So I have it so that it's falling right behind this side of my arrangement, and it is at 1/32nd flash power. I'm a little off with this light position, so I'm just going to move it a little bit more this direction. All right, I think that's good. Maybe down a little bit lower. So if I'm really being nitpicky, then this light right now, it's showing up right here behind the flowers, and I actually want it down lower about here, so I'm going to lower my background light. So I do like the lighting with the two lights, and it's really matching the look that I am wanting to build, but I do think I want to try to add a little bit more details into the shadows. So I'm going to be using my large Apollo Orb softbox. I'm going to be placing it off to the side so that the light will be kicking in on a very low flash power. So I might start at 1/128th flash power and see what that looks like. I want it to be very subtle, just barely getting in there into the shadows. Okay, so I went ahead and I added a couple things to my arrangement. I have my key light set up, my background light set up, and now I have my fill light, which will kind of emulate window light coming through. So I'm going to go ahead and see what it looks like. Yeah, I think I like that. So now I am happy with the light. I feel like this light matches my style and the mood I'm trying to create, and it's just light that works for me. And so that's what I want you guys to really be doing today. Going ahead and setting up a scene and then lighting it for you and for what you love. Think about what inspires you. What kind of light makes you stop in your track and just look up into the heavens and be like, this is glorious. Like, get that kind of light and put it onto your images. So I'm going to keep playing around and try a couple different things. I go ahead and handhold my light, which is one of my favorite techniques for lighting still lifes, and it helps me to get a lot of different lighting looks. Okay. And now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my foldable beauty dish to my smaller 12-inch beauty dish. And the reason I'm going to do this is because I think it's actually my favorite modifier. And that may come as a surprise to you because I think in our minds we generally think the larger the light source, the prettier the light, which, it is beautiful light with a large light source. But I really love the kind of crispier light that the 12-inch beauty dish gives to my arrangement. I love that I can kind of hone it in tighter on my subject. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then we can take a look and compare how those two different light sources look on the same arrangement. So here is the light source. You can see I have a grid on it and it's covered with the slow diffuser. Okay, so before I switch to hand holding it, I'm gonna just fire off one on the light stand so you can kind of see what kind of light I'm gonna get.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Now I'm gonna go ahead and start. What I really love about this technique is that I can really experiment with different light placements. And even though I'm only changing my light a couple inches, it makes such a big difference. And I really love to see how that plays out in the final pictures. If someone was to ask me, what's your secret with still life pictures, which nobody has ever asked me, but if they did, I would say that it is probably that technique of hand holding and then moving your light around while you're shooting. And I really love looking at how just such simple changes of lighting make such a big impact on the image. This idea did not come to me overnight. It was after a couple years of shooting with off-camera flash and troubleshooting and trying to get from point A to point B quicker. And I finally realized I had the power to take my light off of the light stand, which I'm not sure why it took me so long to figure out, but when it did, it made my own personal style just so much stronger in my imagery. So how can you experiment with light to find something that is particular to you and to your photography? I don't want you to feel like you have to come up with something so original. It's never been done before. I'm sure a lot of people are using the technique that I use, and that's okay, but I want you to figure out something that you love, and it can be something simple. It can be one light and a reflector. It can really be anything. So I think one of the main things that we can do to make our images is by giving a consistent lighting look. And when people are scrolling and looking at pictures, they'll see yours and they'll know whose it is without even having to read the name. I really hope you have fun with this challenge, and I can't wait to see the light that you create.